Hello everyone, welcome to the archive. I am your instructor, the Dream Keeper, and today I will be telling you about Douxie Caspersen, the most powerful character in Tales of Arcadia, going over his lore and character / overall story within the series. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that we are only 6 subscribers at the time of this recording away from 100 subscribers. So if you could get your friends, parents, siblings, and your cats and dogs, it would be much appreciated. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Douxie Caspersen began life as a simple peasant in the kingdom of Camelot. Early in his life, though, he discovered how he possessed the way to use magic, starting a life of simple tricks and pranks on people alongside his lifelong friend, Archie. It's unknown why or how Archie came to be attached to Douxie as his familiar, but we do know the reason why, which will play a role later down the road. Douxie would continue his party tricks to scam the people of Camelot. Yet one day, he decided to scam the wrong man, who was a knight of King Arthur, and under Arthur's law, magic is outlawed and punishable by death. Just as the blow was about to land, an old man stepped from the crowd and stopped everyone in time, revealing himself as Merlin, High Mage and the most powerful wizard in the world. He offered Douxie a place to stay and an opportunity to become his apprentice. This was not as great as Douxie imagined, as instead of learning powerful magic, he did regular chores and tasks for Merlin, like
Hey girl, just gonna come in for a quick little milking. Just gonna be one little squeeze.
this was due to Merlin seeing Douxie's lazy and clumsy aspects, trying to discipline him and show him the importance of doing all this, saying, "Staffs are for those with mastery over magic, and magic is mastery over life. So first you must learn to master life." Implying that through hard work and not using magic to always solve his problems, he will learn to master and properly control it. One thing Douxie helped Merlin with was the construction of the amulet. Twice. The first time, he simply provided a hand in preparing and collecting the bits and bobs to help Merlin put it together. The other time will happen later. After this moment, Douxie's life over the next 900 years is completely unknown. Only the fact that he left himself tasks to do over his life, as well as go on many missions to imprison demons, spirits, and monsters threatening the world, and banishing them to a realm of limbo, meeting another wizard named Zoe, and seemingly going out on missions and tasks together. Yeah, right, man, we all know what you were really doing with it. Side note, while doing research for this video, The wiki says Douxie was uninterested in hunting the boogeyman from Rise of the Guardians. So take that what you will. Skipping to the modern day, Douxie works 2 jobs, attends a high school, and at night cosplays as John Constantine from DC. I only just realized that and I'm keeping that in. Douxie makes his first appearance in the 3rd season of Trollhunters, handing out flyers for the Battle of the Bands, popping up throughout the season at a cafe, and at the season finale, fighting off a Gum-Gum and saving Claire's friends. Next, we see him in 3 Below, bumping into Aja, and at the cafe when Aja and Steve go out for a date. It's unknown why Douxie never helped in the final fight against Morondo in any way during 3 Below, but you can just put this up to him being out of town on a mission while this was going on. Regardless, Douxie would return to banish a monster once again from Arcadia, alongside Archie, who is shown to act as Douxie's bestiary teacher, advising him that this signals something worse to come. And as if on cue, Merlin appears to order him to assemble Arcadia's guardians. For what purpose? He doesn't know. Archie successfully gets Arg, Toby and Steve on board to help them, while Douxie utterly fails to find anyone. Again, unclear why, in the universe, he couldn't find them, but heidi-ho. The group meet Merlin at Douxie's workplace to begin gathering anything of use he had stashed there. Douxie questioned Merlin on his decision to bring these children to face whatever threat he had called them for, but like most times was overruled by Merlin. Suddenly, the two feel an eerie presence enter the shop, and out of the darkness a horde of shadow mephits appear and attack them. While they do make an escape, Douxie catches a glimpse of an armored warrior watching them get away. Escaping on a flying ship, they make their way to Merlin's home, Camelot. Taking in its splendor once again in over 900 years is truly breathtaking for Douxie and his friend to take in. Once nostalgia wore off though, Merlin quickly introduced the surviving members of the other troll hunters and the situation that went down with them. Pause. I know that the events that happened in Wizards is a pretty big block of Douxie's story and overall character development, but most, if not its entire plot, was said in my Lore of the Wizards video, which also included everything Douxie did. So for the sake of me not reiterating everything again, I'm just going to move on to Rise of the Titans, but I'll give you 5 seconds to go watch my Wizards Part 2. Alright, let's move on. After the events of Wizards, Douxie and Nari would keep themselves safe and out of reach from the remaining souls of the Arcane Order. For almost a year this went on for, and at the time, Jim and his allies started reaching out to Douxie and preparing a defensive attack on the Arcane Order should they spring a sudden surprise on the two. This preparation would prove fruitful as Skrael and Belrock would launch a surprise attack on them and would be thwarted initially by Jim, Claire, Toby and the rest of their team. Yet it quickly would start falling apart as their plan to take away their magic was failing and the train they were on was on an immediate crash course. Luckily, Douxie was able to use his magic to smoothen their landing and prevent a major crash, buying time for him to see Nari get nabbed by Belrock and Scrael. He jumped up to grab her hand, but failed to bring her down. As she edged closer and closer away, he had to think on his feet and switched his consciousness over to her. Later, Belrock and Scrael would bring Nari to a secret hideout to perform a spell to awaken the Titans
and bring about the end of the world.
For some reason, though, it didn't work, and to their surprise, they found Douxie inhabiting the body of Nari, effectively cancelling out the spell.
Oh, you breaking your spell will be quite painful. Do your worst. As you.
As pain began to rack his body, pulling his mind back and forth between his and Nari's body was far too much to handle, and he was sent screaming back into his own body. With Nari now in their hands, Douxie and the rest of the gathered heroes formulated a plan to go after Nari, and when that failed, they each split up to take down one of the awakened Titans. Douxie went with Arg and Nomura to try and convince Nari and break whatever spell they had cast on her. Traveling to the forests of the Amazons, they got onto the body of the Titan, and Douxie would try to reach out to Nari, seeing if anything would break through to her. It did not work, and this resulted in Nomura paying the ultimate price, with him being thrown right off into the ground. Arg and Douxie would meet again with the team, where he would see Archie sacrifice himself in order to save his father, saying farewell to his oldest friend. He would try one more time to break the spell on Nari and save his last remaining friend he still had. Claire, Jim and Douxie would go alone and try to get Nari back, facing heavy opposition on her part, giving all that he could to try and reach out to her, grasping her hand and using his magic to help her fight against Belrock's control. Douxie would successfully help Nari get free and add a Titan to their ranks to help bring down Scrael in an epic Titan-on-Titan conflict, which led to the death of Scrael at the cost of Nari's life. Douxie had lost a lot in life: his friend, his father, and now Nari. And yet he still had to push through time and time again. Douxie would help the team fight against Belrock, and despite being the most powerful person on the team, was utterly useless in the fight and got knocked out immediately. At least his magic helped Jim and friends defeat Belrock and get vengeance for his family. The last we see of Douxie is with the rest of the characters, and the less said about the ending, the better. So back when I made a review for Wizards, I pointed out that Douxie was one of the reasons, or one of the only good things that came out of the show, and I still follow that, if not even more now that I really think about it. Douxie was really, well, relatable, to be honest. He was charming, he was nice, he wasn't, anything, he wasn't perfect. He made mistakes, and if anything, that was part of his character. And in the end, he proved to everyone and how he was ready to take up Merlin's mantle. It's also, he lived a kind of sad life. He was always second best, as Merlin even once said that Morgana was the better student. He was looked down upon by Arthur, most of the knights at Camelot, and even the Arcane Order for a good amount of time. But even with all of that, he still had to lead the group of remaining heroes to victory, help Morgana reach the destiny she had to, and complete her circle, and in the end became worthy of Merlin's mantle. He also just acts as a really good mentor and friend to the others. To Steve and him, is kind of just circumstantial. But the dynamic between Claire and Douxie was really good. To see him actually be the teacher and mentor towards Claire, who was developing her own type of magic, was really nice to see, and kind of paralleled between him and Merlin, and with him being Merlin and Douxie and Claire being Douxie, and see how his take on being a teacher was. And they were just cute together. They bounced off really well, and all around it was good to see the two on screen. Not just that, I think if they had gotten Toby, Arg, Blinky, really just Toby, I think the two would have meshed really well, but time constraints. And then you come to how he was screwed over in the movie, where, as I said, he was the most powerful member and he just never got to show it off, or didn't really contribute anything to the ending. And while, Jim's bit at the end was cool, I think it would have been better if they had Douxie be more in the fight, and maybe when, all is lost and Balrog's gonna win, Douxie was fighting him, and then, the world's about to end would have happened, We could have seen a proper fight between the two and see how powerful Douxie actually was, or was he just an overhyped chump who didn't really know what he was doing? So, take that what you will. Now, just what can you take away from Douxie? You can take a character that always made mistakes, who realized they would never be remembered for the great things they did in life. You can put them as the person who was second best to everything and everyone. And in the end, he decided to push through and keep trying. And in the end, he found the purpose that he was always meant to be. He found the father he always needed. And though his conclusion was, pretty bad, I like to think his conclusion ended with wizards saying farewell to his father, the better student in his eyes, and the age of wizards, with him helping to lead the new age of humanity. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and remember to find anyone you can interested in this sort of thing and give that red button a big click. Really does help me see that this is all worth it. And now, may the glory of Merlin be with you always.